Hello everyone, I'm your host Black Tuna and welcome back in a new video. Today we are talking about HYTALE because we got a new blog post on the HYTALE official website and we got great news. Well, first of all, it's great that we got to hear from the devs. We know at what point they are with the development. We know what they're working on, so that's already great news in itself. But in addition, we finally got some generic but reliable information on when we will be able to play HYTALE. Unfortunately, it's gonna take more than I would have liked, but we are looking at a release date for 2021. I mean, they basically mentioned that the game is gonna be playable for everyone in 2021, so we may be looking at a beta or an alpha late in 2020. So 1 year or less than 1 year from now, we may be able to get our hands on the game. Secondly, we also got some insight on how and why the devs have been kind of quiet lately concerning updates and reveals, and this is because they've been overwhelmed by the positive feedback, the high expectations, and so on and so forth. And so they wanted to be sure they could deliver on the quality that the fans were expecting from them, which is kind of fair and it's a very good attitude. But in the same time, fans have been pushing for in-progress features, in-progress gameplay, so they wanted to see how the things are shaping up in a way that also community could give feedback to the devs, just to make sure that they wouldn't put in the game something that people are not really interested in or something that is actually going against the initial expectations of the public. So everything is kind of understandable, but they also decided that from now on they will in fact be showing us what they're working on, in progress features that may or may not be in the end game, depending on how they and we feel about it as a community, which is great. You know, devs that listen to the community, 10 out of 10 devs. But in addition to this, we got a huge blog post about graphics update for HYTALE. Starting from real-time shadows, we can see how the shadows in the game are actually affected in real time by the sunlight or the moonlight. Now, I'm not gonna go technical into this because I also have no idea what I'm talking about or what the devs are talking about. But in the past few months, they've been working on the addition of cascaded shadow mapping. What this basically means is that every character model and environmental object will cast detailed shadows that will react to the position of the sun and the moon. And they also added a few screenshots where you can actually see this in-game. I would have actually appreciated if they put screenshots of before and after they added this cascaded shadow mapping in the game, but I think these screenshots are gonna do it. They also posted a video of different environments that are affected by the sunlight, the moonlight, and so on and so forth. And this makes it so that HYTALE's world feels not only immersive but alive. They've also made some water effects updates, the most prominent of which is the addition of underwater caustics, and just by looking at the screenshot I can already tell how good this is gonna look on your friends when you're playing in multiplayer or you're playing third person on yourself, because you can clearly see how these also apply to your character. So it's not just gonna be an environmental thing, but it's gonna affect how your character looks underwater, which is great. Then we move on to bloom and sun shafts. Now, to be fair, the first screenshot that they posted doesn't really tell much about bloom and sun shafts, but if you scroll through the blog post, you will see the second screenshot related to bloom and sun shafts actually gives a great idea of how this is gonna look and feel like in gameplay. I mean, just look at that light coming in from the hole in the cave, hitting that thing that looks like an underground tree or something like that. Oh, pretty cool. Then of course they went on and explained how they improved particle effects, textures, ambient occlusions, and so on and so forth. And in the end of this huge blog post, they also shared with us a little bit of gameplay in the current version of HYTALE that they have at the studio. Now, as they mentioned, this clip is going to be closely analyzed by fans, by the community. This is not my job and I'm not gonna do that. And they clearly mentioned that we should bear in mind that everything that is in this clip is subject to change, including the combat system that is being worked on as we speak. But you can see how these two adventurers jump out of their house, open the doors and just start fighting this horde of skeletons, there's warriors, there's archers, there's magicians, and these two people actually have two different setups. One of them, the main character from which you're looking the gameplay from, is using a heavy hammer or something that looks like that, and he also switches to magic later on. Magic that he just dropped from one of these creatures, so that's pretty cool. We can see some particle effects and special effects of the magic, and everything looks 10 out of 10. In the end of the clip, we see this second character opening the chest that is in the end of this dungeon room, possibly a dungeon room, and equipping a fire sword. Now, how cool is that? You can clearly see the particle effects on your ally, on the sword. The main character also switches from first to third person camera, and we can also have a look to his outfit, and that's all good stuff. Now, being this work in progress, I'm hoping to see some updates to these elemental swords or weapons, and I would like them to cast some light according to the elements they are embedded with. As an example, I would expect this fire sword to act more like a torch and light the environment with the red light, but these are things that we may be seeing in the future. But for now, this seems to be all that they had to share with us up until now. I'm looking forward to more updates from the dev team of HYTALE, but let me know what you guys think. Are you appreciating these visual updates? Because it seems like they have pretty much sorted out all the things that they had to sort out on the technical department. And it would seem like now they have to focus a little bit more on the art department, making their game look incredible and look immersive without the addition of graphics mods. Or would you prefer them to focus on extra features that may or may not be useful to gameplay? Let me know with a comment down below, because this is gonna do it for today's video. If you liked it, please click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below, and I will see you again in the next video.